And of course, thank you to the Augustine Educational Foundation and Sacred Hearts Academy for continuing to provide this for teachers in Hawaii. So let's just kind of begin by talking a little bit about technology and how young learners can use technology in meaningful ways. So if you have ideas about that, how have you used or do you anticipate using technology in meaningful ways in your classroom? You could drop it in the chat or you could unmute and just kind of share your ideas. I'll just stop talking for a moment, give you a chance to respond. And again, just go ahead and unmute if you have an idea. I'm just going to kind of scroll down here and share some things that I've thought of or some things that I've experienced in the past. I think technology can help young learners create meaning, making connections by giving that opportunity to be creative. Once you've learned something, they kind of get to synthesize that and share what they know using all of these wonderful multimodal tools that we'll talk about. Maybe they're, using drawing tools, using a video, using microphone. There's so many ways for them to make those connections and then share their learning. They develop and practice some real practical skills. We all know that technology is very prevalent in our world and in our society right now. And so having some foundational skills to be digitally literate has really become a pretty core foundational skill for our students. So letting them develop and practice those skills in authentic ways, I think, is really important. It provides nice ways to collaborate with others on different projects. And one thing that isn't on here, but a few things that we'll look at are, I like how they can be adaptive. We always talk about ways to differentiate for our learners. A lot of apps and tools that we find, if they're a good fit and aligned with our curriculum, can be a great way for students to learn or practice a skill, and it can be adaptive to their abilities. So they don't all have to be doing the same thing. And I really like that technology makes it easy for us to do that. If you have other ideas, please, again, you can unmute and share or drop that in the chat. But I really do think that finding those meaningful ways, being intentional about how we're using technology is key to really using it well. Before we dig into the apps, one more little piece here that I wanted to share is just this idea of meaningful media use and digital citizenship. One of my favorite sources for just kind of this media literacy and digital citizenship is Common Sense Education. Again, there's tons of links in here. So if you grab the bit.ly and you've got the slide deck, that's awesome. If not, that link will be in the spreadsheet. So you'll be able to click on all these links from there. But Common Sense Education has lots of great resources for parents and teachers. But one thing I really love is their digital citizenship curriculum. It's scaffolded for different grade levels. It's super interactive. They have these great characters that students really love. But I do think really thinking through, as we are introducing apps and technology to our young learners, how we're also embedding those opportunities for kind of reflecting on that meaningful media use and how we're being good digital citizens. I know in our district anyway, we have a lot of teachers who kind of think it's our library and media specialist job to teach digital citizenship, or somebody else's job. And I do really think it's important for all of us to try to embed that into our lessons and into what we're doing with our students. So there's some great resources there. I'll show an example a little bit later in the presentation, but just to kind of make you aware of some of those resources as well. Another resource I'm sharing is from PBS Kids. I was lucky enough to be a PBS Kids Early Learning Champion, and got to do some great work with PBS Kids in the past few years. And one of the things I really love is the sort of framework for integrating media and digital tools into the classroom. And again, I just think it speaks to that intentionality of using digital tools. I know when I first started using tools, I didn't know kind of what each one was for, and it was sort of just a fire hose that I would, for me and also for my students, like we're using 100 million different apps because I learned them all and it's cool. And I wasn't super intentional about teaching it to them and the reasons why I was using them. And so this framework, I think, is a great way to kind of step back and really think. There's 6 approaches here. If I'm using a tool, I first want to be sure that it connects to my curriculum. And then what of these sort of approaches does it combine with? So what am I hoping to do with this tool? What am I hoping to spark some interest? Am I hoping to let my students explore? Are we going to create something? So I think it really is a nice way of being intentional and being sure that we're tying that to a target in our classroom. And I'll share another resource for this a little bit later. So I've broken down my top 10 apps, and I just kind of assigned them all to one of these approaches. Many of these apps could fall, excuse me, under several of these. You might use one app to create, document, and share, and that's okay. I just kind of tried to put them under a category just to kind of provide an example of what that looks like. So the first little area we're looking here, excuse me, we're looking at here is Spark. The idea here is that we're just trying to kind of spark students learning. We want to get them engaged. We want them to be excited about something. And so a couple of tools that I would recommend for that are listed here. The first one is an app called Khan Academy Kids, and I'm going to tap this open. Let's see here. Hopefully, okay. I'm not, see, here's where I'm like, okay, from my iPad, I'm going to go ahead and edit this, and then I should be able to open this link. Here we go. Okay, this gives just a nice little introduction to what this app is. And if, here we go.
App is exciting. There are so many firsts to discover. Your first word, your first book, your first day of school. And with each new thing you learn, you grow. At Khan Academy, we embrace and celebrate learning at all ages. We created Khan Academy Kids to spark the joy of learning in kids ages 2 through 7. Through thousands of activities, books, and videos, kids can read, play, learn, and grow. Narrator Cody Bear and her friends guide kids through the app, encouraging creativity, curiosity, and kindness. Because we believe that everyone should have access to learning, Khan Academy Kids is completely free. No ads, no subscriptions. Khan Academy Kids, now celebrating first words through first grade, available in the App Store, Google Play, and Amazon.
They actually now, it's up to second grade. So they have pre-K through second grade available in the app. It is completely free. Before I go back here, I'm just going to go ahead and open that app up on my iPad.
Khan Academy Kids.
Your free account on Khan Academy Kids, you can enter your students. So you'll see here that my students just come here. They would tap on their little icon or their picture. The first thing that you see here is called a learning path. And this is where when we talk about kind of that adaptive tech, it will start them at a basic grade level kind of baseline. This is for first grade. But then based on how they respond to some of the tasks in here, it'll take them on different learning paths. So it's adaptive to what their abilities are. If I tap on library, you'll notice that there's a space where you can assign things to your students. And then I'm just going to kind of click across the top here so you get an idea. And again, this is first grade, but you can change this for pre-K up to second grade. So lots of really engaging learning activities for students in math, reading, some phonics skills, and logic. They have a collection of books, which you kind of saw. And again, this is sort of where that spark comes in. Maybe some of these books, maybe some of these videos, asking students to read. They do have some nonfiction if you kind of scroll through here. And then of course, some learning videos are in here. And then there is a create tool. I don't know if you're familiar with another free app called Draw and Tell. It's another one I love, but I didn't put it on this list because I kind of cheated, because Draw and Tell is really embedded in here as well. So if I open up this screen, I can then add stickers and some drawings. And this is a really nice canvas for students to be able to kind of share and create. Let's see, I gotta get out of here right there. If I do want to access a teacher dashboard, I'll show you this part really quick before we move on to another app. Oops, I missed a piece here. Okay. And then here's kind of what you see as a teacher. I can pull up class reports. I can look at students' progress through assignments or through the learning path, and then also assign them things by clicking on an activity, and then I could decide who needs that activity. It is at this point just an app, so you can't access this from a website. You do have to manage your account as a teacher. Your dashboard is all from the app. So just so you know, so again, free and truly one of my favorites. As I'm sharing, again, if there's something you love, feel free to unmute. It's harder for me to see the chat box just because I'm on my iPad. So feel free to unmute and share if you love this or if you've used it before, if you have any questions. The other app that I put here in the Spark category is a new favorite. This one's called Novel Effect. I'm going to try to do a quick little demo here, and I'm hoping the sound works really well. But what Novel Effect is an app that adds these sort of magical soundscapes to stories that you're reading. So you're still reading a book. I have Creepy Crayon sitting here with me. So I'm still reading a physical book, but while I'm reading it, I'm going to open up this app. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right here. Flip it this way. I think it'll work a little bit better. A book that you're reading has to be in their Soundscape library in order for this to work. There's thousands of books in the library, but you do kind of have to do a search. So I'm going to put in Creepy Crayon. I see that it's here. So I'm going to tap it open. And then to get started, I just click on that button that says print. Oops. Oh, stink. I was worried that this might, because we're presenting through Zoom. So imagine, if you will, I'll just kind of have to talk you through it. What will happen is I'll begin reading this story and it'll load the soundscape in the background. And it plays there's music that plays in the back, but it puts this really fun interactive sound effects into the background as well. So it really is, it sparks that excitement for students, it engages students. It really is a very kind of exciting, fun app to sort of add some magic to those read alouds that you're doing. So sorry, I was worried about, I played with the sound a few times and I thought I had it working, but apparently not with the Zoom. You can get this app for free. So you could download the Novel Effect app just to kind of explore and see what it does without a subscription. With the free version, you get to use 5 books a month. So you could pick a book in there that you have and just kind of play around with it. What I usually do is I have my iPad hooked up to a Bluetooth speaker. So that's nice and loud for students to listen to. They don't really need to see the app while you're presenting or while you're reading. So I have the app close to me so it hears my voice, but I just do my read aloud as normal. And then that soundscape or those sound effects will be playing in the background for students. I also put a link in here to book activities and resources. They have a ton, it's almost like Teachers Pay Teachers, but free. A ton of free activities aligned with many of the books in their Novel Effect library. So if you click on that book activities and resources, I know there's some cool ones for like Groundhog Day and Valentine's Day coming up. And then you can print, there's some kind of worksheets, but there's also some craft ideas and things like that aligned with all of the books. So those are free resources. The app is free. If you do decide you love it, the yearly subscription for teachers, so be sure if you're checking it out, you look at the teacher pricing, is $39.99 for a year subscription. So very reasonable cost. So those are kind of 2 apps, apps 1 and 2. The next one I'm going to move towards is this idea of modeling. And before I do that, I'll just kind of take a pause to see if there are any questions, or if any of you have used either Khan Academy Kids or Novel Effect before. Okay. So model can be a few different things. It could be modeling character traits and habits and that sort of thing. What I've sort of interpreted as for this presentation is modeling kind of that grit and perseverance and that problem solving. And so I put a couple of my favorite coding apps in here because I think those are great ways of modeling those critical thinking skills and problem solving skills. So what I really love is there's 2. One is Scratch Junior and the other one is PBS Kids Scratch Junior. They're exactly the same. Once you know how to use one, you can use the other. The PBS Kids one just has some PBS kids characters from some of their popular shows and backgrounds. I found, especially with littles, that really engages them. They get super excited when they see Wildcrats. They really love Wildcrats. There's also some really awesome scaffolded lessons available with the PBS Kids. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I'm going to pop over to Safari here so I can kind of bring this up for you. I'm going to do PBS Kids Scratch Junior. So if you just like a quick Google search, you'll pull up, I just got a J in there. I think it'll still work. If you do a Google search, it'll show you, here's where you download the app, and Scratch Junior and PBS Scratch Junior are only apps. You can get it in the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store, but it's not web-based. I'm going to go ahead and just, again, play this quick video to kind of show you a little bit more.
What is coding? Well, sometimes it looks like this, but it can also look like this. In the free app PBS Kids Scratch Junior. With PBS Kids Scratch Junior, children from 5 to 8 can create interactive stories and games featuring characters from their favorite PBS shows. They snap together programming blocks to make characters move, jump, sing, and dance. They're doing real coding and telling stories, problem solving, collaborating, making mistakes, and making discoveries, creating their own content, developing both their STEM skills and a whole new kind of digital literacy. These kids aren't just learning to code, they're coding to learn. PBS Kids Scratch Junior is an engaging digital tool that can be used in both formal and informal learning environments. On this site, you'll find a wealth of resources, including activities, lesson plans, support materials, related links to PBS shows, a self-paced professional development PowerPoint, and short videos about the role of coding and strategies for using the app in formal and informal settings. All are designed to help you make the very best use of the app possible. PBS Kids Scratch Junior is engaging and fun for kids and teachers. Use it to cultivate your students' creativity and to activate them as lifelong learners for the 21st century.
Great job. High five, Jaden. All right.
So again, just kind of a little snapshot, and it shows you how many resources they have here. So on this page, tons of little resources, videos, how-to cards, and then I love these activities. So if I click on the tree problem, it really gives me the support I need as a teacher to feel confident getting started with something like this. It's going to give me the vocabulary I need, any materials that I need, and really breaks down a pretty thorough lesson plan with all the blocks I'm using. All these PBS Kids ones have a cool little like video component. So the idea is you would watch this little snippet, and then it sets up a problem, and then there's a coding solution. So now we're going to code together to help these characters solve that problem, and then some time to share. And there's always a nice little take-home resource to share with parents. So again, the two apps are the PBS Kids Scratch and then regular Scratch Junior as well. They're both free. They're both great. They both work the same. I'm just kind of highlighting PBS Kids because I really like all those resources and kind of how they have that set up. So coding apps collection that has other coding resources for K2 students, if that's something you're interested in exploring more with your students. This Wakelet down here link has some other resources, as well as lots of examples from Scratch and Scratch Junior that you can look at on your own. So moving on to app number 4, this might be something that you're pretty familiar with. I would say this is a pretty widely used app. And I think it combines well with this idea of exploration because it provides students with access to tons of books, literature books, nonfiction books, and then educational videos so that they could learn about a particular topic. Epic is free. It's sort of set up so it's like free during school hours. So if students wanted to access it at home, teachers would encourage parents to maybe sign up for a family account so that they could access it at home. So Epic, again, you may be familiar with it. I'll just go ahead and pull up the app quickly. This one is an app and also available on a website or a web browser. So you can basically set up your class, add your students, and then you're going to have access here to tons of books. I like how you can look. We use DRAs here in our district. I could look specifically for certain DRA levels. I can find books specifically that will read to me in my kindergarten class. That's what we used a lot of, is a lot of the read to me books. You can create collections. So if you want, maybe you're learning about a particular animal, you can put together a book collection of that animal and assign it to your students so that they don't have to search. They could just go into that collection and find books related to that learning topic. So again, Epic is widely used, might be something that you're familiar with, but is definitely a top 10 app for me. And when I talk to the K2 teachers that I work with, I kind of wanted to get their thinking on their favorite apps too. They gave me their top 3, and Epic was one of those top 3 apps for the K2 teachers that I work with. I'm going to keep going, but again, I'll just kind of stop for a moment to see if there are any thoughts or questions. Okay. Um, the create topic or strategy was probably the hardest one for me to sort of narrow down. I truly feel like the most significant thing that we can have our students do on a device when they're using technology, is create. So many times we put them on a device, whether that's at school or at home, and they're just kind of consuming. It's just screen time. They're watching a video or looking at something, or maybe even playing a game, but really just kind of clicking. So I think where that great learning comes and those connections to their learning and synthesizing that thinking is when we give them opportunities to create. So again, I had a hard time narrowing it down, but these were the few that I settled on. The first one is called Chatterpix, and there's Chatterpix and Chatterpix Kids. You can see the app logo here is what it looks like. I use the kids version. It is free. It's a Duck Duck Moose app, and they have a ton of amazing apps. I mentioned that Draw and Tell is another Duck Duck Moose app. They're fantastic and they're all free. So Chatterpix is usually one of the very first apps that I show like kindergarten and first grade teachers and students that I work with, because it's really fun, super engaging, and very easy to use. So I'm going to, let's see. I'm gonna have to click on edit slide again so I can open up and show you a couple of examples here. This is from a kindergarten classroom. They had been learning all about butterflies. So then we did a directed draw, and they took a picture of that drawing and put that into Chatterpix to share what they learned.
Butterflies can smell with their antennas.
We could hear that. They're so quiet with their sweet little voices. And then this was a great one. I told you that I would share, let's see, just trying to get to that link here. Here we go. I told you I would share an idea from that Common Sense digital citizenship. This was a great lesson from their kindergarten digital citizenship lessons. The first lesson is about this character named Arms, and it demonstrates that you should find balance. So use your arms when you're online to balance your time. And the lesson is about, okay, you've maybe spent some time on a screen, maybe you're watching a show or playing a game. Now to find that balance, what are you going to do offline? So we had a conversation about that, and then I printed this page. The students had a chance to color it, and then we did the same thing in Chatterpix, took a picture, and then made it talk to kind of share their thinking.
I will set off my device to go to the park first with my baby cousin and then go to the water park.
So she's going to go to the park and then the water park with her baby cousin. I'm going to go ahead and open the app. It's
Welcome to Chatterpix.
It works very simply. You could use it for a lot of ideas. I shared a couple. One of my favorite things to do is you've just finished a book, take a picture of the book, and use Chatterpix to give me a quick summary. So I'm going to just click on take a photo. And then I'm just going to hold it over that creepy crayon book that I had to take a picture. Once I've got that, it'll show them what to do, but what I want to do here is draw a mouth. I just do like a straight line there to draw the mouth, and then I'll use the microphone to make it talk.
Record in 3, 2, 1.
Creepy Crayon
go!
Taught me that it's best to do your own work. Even if it's not perfect, you can take pride in your work. You'll notice they've only got 30 seconds to talk, which is plenty. I like that there's kind of a little timer on that. And then I'm just going to click on next. There are some filters and things here, but for the most part, we just go next from there. And then I can push play. Creepy Crayon taught me that it's best to do your own work, even if it's not perfect, you can take. And so it made his little mouth talk. It would have been funnier. I should have made the crayon talk. I should have done that. And then you can save this to your device here in the corner. And once you do that, you could save this and share it in other places. You notice that the 2 links I shared were from Seesaw. We'll talk a little bit more about Seesaw, but that's usually where our students that we work with share all these kind of creations that they're making. So again, you see that it's super simple to use, really fun and engaging, and you could use it for so many different reasons. You know, I've seen people where they've made, like maybe students have created something physical, like a STEM project, then they could put it in ChatterPix and put that little mouth on there and have it talk to explain their building process or their design process. So many things that you could do with ChatterPix. And again, it's free, but only available as an app. There's not a web version of ChatterPix. 2 of the other apps that I chose for this create section here are Pic Collage EDU and another app called Feltboard. Pic Collage has a free version called just Pic Collage. The EDU version that I use is, I think, $1.99 for a license, but I do like, it's a little simplified. Everything is unlocked as far as stickers. There's a little bit more filtering when you do image searches and things. And then the Feltboard app is also a paid app. I don't buy a lot of apps. A lot of what I use is free, but this one is so just lovely and versatile. That is one that I purchased for my kindergarten class. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go into each of these apps. The first one I'll show you is Pic Collage EDU. What I usually do is just go into this freestyle mode here, and students basically have this open canvas where they can create. What I love is there are so many tools here. It really lets them kind of customize and have fun and share their thinking and learning in a pretty engaging way. So you'll notice I'm just going to kind of click through here at the bottom. I've got backgrounds. I could just change the color, but they always have these sort of like thematic and seasonal things down here as well. So I could add this. I could add any photos that I have. So anything that I had saved on my device, I could add. I could take photos of something and add that in here. We've done, you know, like scavenger hunts where they go around the room and find groups of 10, or find things that start with a certain letter or end with a certain letter. They can add that in here. We can add stickers. So you'll kind of go through, and again, you can see lots of sticker options. Maybe number stories with the stickers, illustrations with the stickers, the text they enjoy. I'm going to type something, type something here. When I click on text, you'll notice that then I could change how that text looks. I can click on the paint palette here and I can change the color of the text, or I want it that color, or I can go to background and I can change the background of the text. So it's kind of a fun way for them to share their thinking and their learning, because they do get to customize. They love maybe adding a sticker or 2. They love the fun, fancy fonts. They love adding a special background. The web image tool is really cool because let's say they were learning about groundhogs. We've been talking about groundhogs. I could type in groundhogs, and they love then being able to find like these real photos and adding that into here. So probably one of the simplest things that I've done to kind of get started is use this to share, you know, something that they've been learning about. Like maybe we've learned groundhog facts, and I put a couple pictures in and then type those facts. Or if they've written something, if they've done some writing, they could add a picture in here and then use the text tool to type up their writing and just kind of publish and share their writing. Lots and lots of creative ways that you could use this when you're done. This will save to your camera roll. And again, it's really easy then to share that to a digital portfolio or wherever else you usually kind of save those projects. So again, that's Pick Collage EDU. The other one that I have in this create section here is Feltboard. It looks really simple, but it's just kind of fun and engaging and just different than a lot of other things we do. It really is just like a digital felt board. You'll notice all of these different backgrounds here. If you scroll all the way down, I really like down here how they have some nice graphic organizers. So sometimes I have had students, you know, illustrate. They've written a story. Let's do some illustrations. We're learning about the letter B. Let's put the letter B on here and find things that start with B. Sometimes I've done, let's put our sight words in here or our spelling words, and each one goes into a different box. We've done story retells on here, like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So many ways that you could use this. I'm just going to kind of tap around. Here's where my characters are. And then I put, let's see, I'll just grab, they don't freak out about this guy too much. You'd think that they would, right? Until I get clothes on. And I'm going to kind of build my little character here. I have to keep on scrolling. I'm going to find a little face. I almost grabbed one with the mustache. She probably doesn't need a little mustache. We'll just add this one here. My clothes are over here. I'm going to go ahead and grab this little dress and put it on her. Lots of different, there's some like uniforms and things if you're doing a career week. I could add some shoes and different accessories. There's animals here. Again, I'm just doing a real quick scroll just to kind of give you an overview. Here I've got sort of outside things, weather things. There's some shapes, a talking bubble, and then I've got letters and numbers over here. So it's very simple. Once I build it, I should be able to move this as a whole person there. It is really just like a digital felt board. It's just different, I think, than a lot of the apps and tools that we use, and really kind of allows them to kind of think and be creative. Everything I make sort of saves into this little gallery here. And then I can click on the camera, and now that's saved to my iPad. And again, easy to share somewhere else. So hopefully that's one that you think is kind of fun and engaging for your students, just a different way to create. I'll go ahead and stop again. Sorry, I've just been talking. And just pause and see if you have thoughts or ideas on either of those. Any of those creative tools shared, or if there are any creative tools that you've used that you'd like to share out with the group. Okay. This strategy is document, and there's lots of ways that we could document student learning. One that came to mind pretty quickly is Seesaw, and we'll spend a little time in Seesaw. The other two that I shared here are apps that would just kind of document a student's progress. Khan Academy Kids would fall into this category as well. So we're setting up a class, we're rostering our students, we're giving them tasks to do, and then it'll kind of track that progress. So Khan Academy Kids is one. This one that I have on here is called Teacher Monster. And I don't have this app on my iPad. So I'm going to pull it up here in Safari. So Teach Your Monster is, there's a website and students can play it from the web, or there's an app. The web version is completely free. The app is a paid app, and I just didn't have it on this iPad. I believe it's $4.99 for a license. They do have more than just Teach Your Monster to Read. That's the one that I kind of highlighted. This is the one that most of our teachers said, again, this was one of their top 3. So top 3 in our district: Teach Your Monster to Read, Epic, and then Seesaw was number 3, and we'll look at that. But they do have more than just Teach Your Monster to Read. There's Reading for Fun, Number Skills, and then the newest one is Adventurous Eating. If you tap, I'm just going to go ahead and tap where it says like download on the App Store. It does give you a little snippet of what they do. They do work on specific skills for your students. This one is lots of phonics and reading. And I'm just going to kind of scroll through here so you sort of get an idea of what will happen here. They have like a little built-in reward system where they are building and creating these monsters, which really keeps them motivated and excited. So this is a great one. Again, the web version is free. The app is, sorry, I thought it was $4.99, but looks like it's $5.99 for the app. This one's Teach Your Monster to Read. If I go back, they again do have these other great apps. The Reading for Fun one is actually free right now. So I'm going to go ahead and tap this one. So I added a little player.
Once upon a time, your monster was zipping through the galaxy in a spaceship. All of a sudden, your monster spots a little green planet and decides to land for a quick snack. Your monster wants a lovely picnic. Tap on the words and say them with me. 3, 2, 1. Sandwiches are fun.
Well, I'll go ahead and just kind of close out of there. I just kind of wanted to give you a little peek. They are all very like visually appealing, really engaging and fun for students. I have noticed too, they seem to go free often. So you just kind of have to watch periodically, but I'll get notices that say Teach Your Monster is free, from this date to this date. And I don't know how your district gets app licenses. We have, our iPads are managed. So we have to ask for them to be installed from our tech department. So what they can do when something goes free like that is just buy a bajillion licenses. I think we have 5,000 licenses, and then able to distribute that to teachers. So when those go free, that can be a really nice thing to watch for. But again, it's a good documentation because then you'll be able to kind of pull reports, look at your students' progress as they work across those skills. Letter School is... Okay. Again, this will track their progress. It won't present you a report or anything, but if you look at the student's device, once they've completed a letter, it will show you that they. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a letter.
This is the letter K for kite.
Modify it up. And then this here. So it has different, and now I get my little star by the letter K. So if you glanced at a student's iPad, you would be able to see which ones they finished. If you go into the settings, let's see. I'm not reading. Oh, okay. If I go into the settings, you do notice I've got it set at Demelian. You can typeface. You can also have them practice numbers and lowercase letters. I'm going to go ahead and close that one down because it'll giggle and laugh at us the whole time. That one is not cheap or free. In fact, it is probably one of the more expensive. Oh, now it doesn't want to, sorry. I didn't want to flip back to this landscape view there for a minute. But it truly is for pre-K and kindergarten, and maybe even some first grade students who are still struggling with letter identification, letter sounds, letter formation. It's worth every penny. Notice, it's going to tell them the letter name, the letter sound. When they go to create the letter, it doesn't let them create the letter unless they do it correctly. So it really is some great practice. Students are so engaged. There's different pictures and things that go along with each letter. There is a free version. Lots of teachers get excited and try it, but it only goes to letter E. So, and if you want to try it out, you can sure download the free version and kind of play around with it. But it's not the full scope of what Letter School is. So Letter School is great. I know there's other letter formation apps that are great. This is just, I think, probably the top one. Has anyone else used an app for letter formation, letter sounds, letter ID that you really love? Okay, the last app on here, I have it in Document, and then I also have it in Share. It could also fall into Create, is Seesaw. We use lots and lots of Seesaw here in our district. We have the paid version of Seesaw for kindergarten through third grade. I really love it for documenting and sharing because it really is, it's that digital portfolio tool. It's kind of where everything else that we're making and creating and doing goes to live and be stored and documented and shared with families. So if you're not familiar with Seesaw, there is a free version. It's not like Letter School where it cuts you off or anything. You could use the free version and access all of the things, the really important things that you would need for your class. You can communicate with families. So the free version is great. There are some additional features if you do have the paid version, which is Seesaw for Schools. I started using Seesaw in my kindergarten class, and really the biggest reason was, like I mentioned, we were one of the first classes that had one-to-one technology. We were kindergartners. And so I know that there was a lot of questions about, well, what are you actually doing on those devices? Questions from other teachers and from families and from administrators. So I really wanted a space where the things that we were doing could be saved and shared with others, so they could see that we were really using them well to create. And I really liked that Seesaw not only let us share the things that we were making on our iPads, like those chatter pics, like those felt board pictures. We could save those and share them to Seesaw. But I also love with the camera tool, we could be sharing all of those other awesome things that were happening in our kindergarten class. So when they, built their sight words with magnetic letters, snap a picture, read the words, add it to Seesaw, those Play-Doh things that they were building, or STEM projects that we were doing, reading to show their reading fluency. They could open up a video and record themselves. So to me, Seesaw is just such a perfect blend of being able to document not only the digital things that we're doing, but also all of those other things happening in our classrooms that you can't just put into a backpack and send home. And then that other important piece is how easily it connects families to see their students learning. So when student work is posted to Seesaw, families who are connected can click on Seesaw and see their students' work. They can't see the whole class's work, just their students. And then there's also a messaging component. So I stopped using email to communicate with families because it was just kind of all embedded here right into the Seesaw app. So I'm just kind of pulling it up again for those of you who aren't familiar. Here is, and this is just kind of a test class or a play class that I have, but you'll just kind of notice the setup. Over here is my journal. This is where all of the posts, the things that students are adding, can go into this journal feed, so we could scroll through and see all the things that they're making and doing. The message portion is up here at the top. This is where I can send messages and announcements to parents in my class and communicate with parents in my class. The other thing that Seesaw has that a lot of teachers like are activities. So when I click on the plus sign and say assign activity, there's a huge resource library here, fully accessible. The community library is fully accessible if you're using the free version. The Seesaw library is accessible if you have the paid version, but also there are certain lessons in each collection that you could use for free. These, if I go to the community library, I might click on I Love to Read. Oh, 100th Day, we had 100th Day yesterday. That was a fun day. So I can see here, again, kind of like teachers, P-teachers, but so many of these are interactive. They include voice instructions or videos and things that students can kind of manipulate and move and draw and do. But all of these are free. I can add these to my library and assign them to my students. So a lot of teachers really love Seesaw because it does have this great resource library of sort of pre-made activities that teachers can use. I think too, it gives a nice overview of how other teachers are using it. If you're not sure how to get started, I like coming to the community library and finding your grade level and just kind of scrolling here, maybe tapping these open and looking, because I do think it gives you an idea of how other teachers are using it and how you might use Seesaw. So again, this is great not only for documenting, because now I have students submitting all this evidence of their work, whether it's taking pictures, whether it's completing an activity, whether it's uploading something that they've made somewhere else, which they can do just here with the upload tool. So they've got it all documented. It's a great space for me then to look back and see that work and see that growth and see that progress. And for parents to see that as well, have that little peek. And then also that sharing piece. They're publishing this to an authentic audience, whether it's their classmates or their families or both. If you click on the wrench, you'll kind of notice students can see each other's work is here by default. So kind of published to the class as an authentic audience, that can be turned on or off. And then where the families are, you can again invite families and connect families to see their students' work. So to me, this is such a great sort of all-in-one. I should have done my numbers backward because this one would probably be number one, just because it does encompass so many of those different strategies. You can use it as a creation tool, you can assign students things, but also document and share all of that learning. So this is a great kind of all-in-one sort of tool. So those are the 10 apps or programs. I'd love to just kind of pause for a little bit here and just kind of give you some time to explore. If there is an app that you want to learn a little bit more about, you can let me know that there's a certain one that you'd like to look at a little bit more closely, and I'm happy to kind of open that up and go into a little bit more detail. Otherwise, I might give you just about maybe 10 minutes to just kind of open up one of these apps or a couple of these apps and just kind of explore a little bit. So I'm gonna talk. I'll stop for a little bit and then just kind of give you some time to explore. I'm going to stop sharing just for now. And again, I'll give you about 10 minutes. If there's an app that you really want to play around with and try, please go ahead and do that. If you have questions, let me know what questions you have. If you don't have a mobile device, there's several of these that you can kind of play around with. Again, Seesaw, Teacher Monster. You could play with Epic. You could explore some of those resources for PBS Kids or Novel Effect from the web. So if you don't have a mobile device, or if you're not able to get, I know some schools like mine, I can't just put it on there myself, I have to ask. So if you don't have access to a mobile device, there are a few that you can explore online. So I'll go ahead, I'm gonna mute myself and stop talking for a few minutes and just kind of let you explore and then see what kind of questions you have. All right. I gave you a few minutes to just kind of explore. I'm wondering what apps you maybe tried, which ones you're most interested in, and anything cool you discovered as you were exploring. You can unmute if you want, or go ahead and drop. I'll just keep the chat box open here so I don't miss any. So either one you checked out or the one you're most excited about, maybe using in your class. Sometimes I know we learn so many new things at these conferences, and definitely wouldn't try 10 things on Monday, but maybe there's one new app or one new tool that you're hoping to use.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
I loved what you shared. Some are very, very new to us. Can't wait to use it. I was writing a whole bunch of notes, and I think my preschool kids would be very entertained with these apps, and also be useful to share with the parents as well, that they can use also at home. Because I think some of these are very new to some of the parents that we have, that always ask what apps would be great. So thank you for providing such a great list today.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing. And yeah, that's a great point. I get lots of requests from teachers who have parents that are wanting things that they can utilize at home. So that's a great point, that parents can really benefit from these too. And someone else wrote that they love ChatterPix. Good. That's seriously, it's so fun. It's so easy to use. I've even used it with, big kids. I've gone into 4th or 5th grade. They just have a lot more to say. So sometimes they run out of time. But it is just so simple and such a fun way of sharing. Well, I'm just going to share a couple of other things. If anybody else wants to share, again, please drop it in the chat or feel free to unmute and just share. And I'm not sure, it might be my fault that one is showing up. We'll see if it's here. Yeah, well, now it's just a black screen. Okay, what if I go like this? Maybe we'll see if that takes care of it. Nope, there it's back again. So I'm running this off of my iPad. Oh dear. Okay. Back here. See, we're losing it here at the end. Isn't that what always happens? Okay, there, maybe that's better. So that one on the screen might be my fault. Maybe that's a little better. I had it hooked up, so my iPad was running through my computer and the sound wasn't working quite right. So I'm just screen sharing right from my iPad here. And I think that screen sharing is a little different than when you're on the computer. So sorry about that little one in the corner. Look, I think I might have just figured out how to make it go away with just a few minutes left. But just a couple other resources I wanted to share. We were kind of working through those 6 strategies that PBS Kids talked about: Spark, Model, Explore, Create, Document, and Share. And this page here, and there's a link if you have the slides, so you could grab a PDF of this and download it. But I like this little idea sketch pad, especially as you're just beginning to incorporate some of these apps and technology into your classroom. It really makes you kind of be intentional and think about how you're using different media and tech tools in your classroom. So what's my learning goal? What am I using? Am I using it to spark? Am I using it to create? Maybe we're using it to document. And then you can just kind of sketch out your idea. What's your purpose? And then I love that how I'll connect with families. Maybe it's just sharing this resource with families. Maybe it's, using a tool where I'm connecting directly with them, like Seesaw. But I do think this is a nice, just little planning guide that you could utilize as you're beginning to use these tools. And then another thing I think is really important is using visuals with students. These are a couple of examples. The one on the left here is an anchor chart that a kindergarten teacher made. So when her kids are using ChatterPix, they practiced, several times together. And I think if you're able to, displaying your iPad onto your projector or a big, we started getting some of those interactive boards. If you're able to display that onto your board so that whole class, everyone's looking at the app, seeing what you're doing, and teaching it whole class a few times, I think is super helpful. And then creating some kind of anchor chart like this that would be a nice reference. So this kindergarten teacher just kind of took screenshots of all of the different steps in ChatterPix and printed those out. And then we, like I said, shared to Seesaw. So then the right side of her anchor chart is showing the steps on how to get that into Seesaw. And if you tap on that one, I do have some of those screenshots there. So if you want to recreate an anchor chart like this, you can print off those screenshots and make your own anchor chart. And then on the right side, again, tap on that little image there, and that'll open a PDF document with lots of Seesaw icons. And I think those can be really helpful. I was just helping a kindergarten teacher the other day because at her centers, she then asked students to take pictures of what they did and add it to Seesaw, which I think is awesome. So they were using like cookie sheets and magnetic letters and putting them in ABC order and building words. And then when they were done at that center, she wanted them to take a picture and put it onto Seesaw to kind of document that they finished and be accountable for finishing, but they were forgetting the steps. And so I gave her these icons so she could make a similar anchor chart. So, go to Seesaw, click the plus sign, click the camera, then click the green check. And so that can now be hanging in that center to give them kind of those visual steps. So I think, like anything with our littles, practicing, lots and lots of practicing to make it routine, but then these visual cues and reminders, I think, can be incredibly helpful too. My tips, I guess, for getting started in your classroom, definitely just choosing one tool to start with. When I was still in the kindergarten classroom, I would go to these teacher learning days called Tilt, Teachers Integrating and Learning Technology. They were awesome. But it was kind of like, it would be a fire hose and I'd learn a million different things and I'd want to go back to my classroom the next day and do all of them. And it was too much. I wasn't being intentional. I was asking too much of my kids and then I was getting overwhelmed. So, tuck the ideas away somewhere so that you don't forget, but then kind of pick that one tool that you want to start with. We talk about being intentional and making sure that what we're doing is tied to our curriculum and tied to a purpose. And I think that's essential, but it's also important to give time to play and explore. Just like you as a teacher need a little bit of time to play and explore and see what that app does before you use it with your kids. They need that time too. I think a good example is the Scratch Junior, the coding. I love those scaffolded lessons where, here's what we're doing. We're doing Peg and Cat, and they're going to solve Peg and Cat's problem. But even built right into that lesson plan is a little bit of playtime, because we know that if they don't sort of have that autonomy to kind of click around and see what the buttons do and add their own things, that's going to be hard for them to focus and complete that task or use it for a specific task. So giving them that time to play and explore, and then introducing a specific task, I think is really smart. Modeling, just like we talked about, whether that's with printed visuals and anchor charts, or you're able to display this whole class so that everybody can see what you're doing. If you can't do that, or if you have real littles, maybe you're pulling them back into small groups and just sort of demonstrating and showing them at first in their small group, so that they can kind of all be gathered around your iPad and watching. The step-by-step instructions and visuals is so important. And then just practice, making it routine. I was in a second grade classroom yesterday, and we actually weren't on iPads. They just got Chromebooks, and the teacher and the kids are used to iPads. And so Chromebooks are kind of shaking up their world a little bit. And so we did an activity. We got into Google Classroom and did some slides, and it was messy. It was chaotic. We were deleting things and moving things around. And when I left, the teacher apologized because she just thought it was so chaotic. And I said, gosh, absolutely not. This is exactly what it should look and sound like as we're learning something new together. It takes practice. So even if it is messy and even if it doesn't feel comfortable, know that each time you do it, it's going to get better and it's going to get easier. But if we do it once and get overwhelmed or frustrated and don't do it again, or don't do it again for a long time, then it's just going to be tricky and chaotic each time we try. So the practice and just making this kind of an embedded part of your routine, I think is really important. Like I said, I had a really hard time narrowing down 10 things. And so there's just another slide in here that has a few other kind of favorite apps or tools for creating, and lots of these are media making, like video apps. So there's a few here that you might kind of check out above and beyond that top 10. There's some other creation tools here. And then that's kind of toward the end of my presentation here. There is the survey, of course, that we'd like you to take at iteach808.com. And I can, once I stop screen sharing, I'll drop that link into the chat box so you have it. So don't forget to take that survey. And then again, at the very end here, I have my name and my contact information. I do a little newsletter every week. I just sent one out this morning that looks like this. And so if this is something that you're interested in, I always put them on my website here. So you're welcome to bookmark the website, or if you shoot me an email and say, hey, will you put me on your list? I'll put you on the email list and you can get this each Monday. But I do try to kind of curate just 4 things every week, so it's not too much. Usually it's resources or an activity or lesson idea using technology that I send out. So if that's something that would be helpful to you, you can check it out on the website or email me to kind of get on that list. But you're welcome to reach out with any questions that come up. I'm going to go ahead and let's see again, stop sharing and just kind of leave some time here if anybody does have any questions or anything that they'd like to share. Thanks, Laurel. And again, that iteach808.com is where you want to go to do this survey.
Okay, if anyone doesn't have any questions, or please feel free still to ask any questions at the end of my mahalo, but we certainly want to thank Traci and everyone for their participation. We hope you found this session very helpful. I know I did. I enjoy listening to you, Traci, and listening to all your apps. Besides working up here in the business office, I do help with the 4th graders, and I know they would enjoy several of these applications. I mean, what student does not like technology and playing with the apps, you know, especially with the pic collage. We're going to be going on a field trip and, you know, using this out their classroom and doing a pic collage. It's going to be wonderful. And a special thanks again to our sponsors at Sacred Hearts Academy, Honolulu, and the Augustine Educational Foundation for making this conference free for the past 10 years. Again, please help us to complete the survey on the website, iteach808.com, so we can continue to receive grant funding. Add the iteach808.com to the chat link, so that if you don't know where to do the survey, then you will know where to go. There you go. Okay, everyone, thank you again, but please feel free to ask Tracy any questions. We have a minute or so. You're still welcome to go ahead and ask her any questions. Mahalo, everyone.
Thank you. Guess it's time to go shovel that snow now.
You can come to Hawaii anytime, Tracy.
I would love that.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great
All
day.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye.